Right. All right, hello everyone. I'm just letting everyone get connected to their audio and admitting some other folks into the meeting. But welcome. If you're trying to get to the Aggie Transcript Info Night, you're in the right place. This is it. So give us one more minute or so and then we'll get started. Okay, and then Adi, I'm planning to share my screen. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I'll just tell you when to tap forward.
Okay, sounds great. All right, here we go. Let me know if something's not working with the share. Okay, so you can see Google Drive now, but it's not present mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does anyone know where present is?
Off to the right.
It's in view or off to the right.
Thank you. All right, how does that look for everyone?
You're good.
All right, great. So hi everyone, welcome to our Aggie Transcript Info Night. It's so great to see over 30 people on the call. So welcome in, and we're excited to talk to you today about the Aggie Transcript. If you have any questions during our talk or during our session, one of our editors, Vish, will be keeping an eye on the chat. So if you see his responses, just know that he's one of us. He's an editor. And we have a number of other editors on the call as well. So you might see messages or links from them pop up as well.
Right, so I'll be monitoring the chat. If I don't respond to your question, either I'll privately message you, or I'll privately message you and say that it's a bigger question that we should probably bring up towards the end.
Yeah.
So that's how I'll be doing things.
All right. Okay, so a little bit about us. So the Aggie Transcript, as you probably know, is a student-run life sciences journal for undergraduates. And we publish student writing, undergraduate research, news, and art and photography in our journal. And we publish these submissions weekly online. And then at each year, at the end, we create a print edition, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So I'm gonna pass the mic to Dr. Sean Burgess, who is our faculty advisor for the journal, to talk a little bit about why join the Aggie Transcript, or why submit to the Aggie Transcript, and also a little bit about our history.
Okay. Daniel, do you have the timeline there? We can. There's the slide after this one.
Yeah, do you want me to advance?
No, we can go ahead and start here. That's fine.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Professor Sean Burgess. I'm in the Department of Molecular and Cellular Biology, and I have been the faculty advisor for the Aggie Transcript for just about 7 years now. I started it by recruiting some students from my MCB 121 molecular biology class who were interested in science writing and publishing. And we got some people signing on right away, and they really laid the foundation for what the Aggie Transcript still is today. And my motivation for establishing the group was for students to have science writing experience, and also publications that they could add on their resumes and CVs. So I knew that a lot of students are writing these research literature reviews and UWP courses. And I thought, you know, what a shame that, you know, only the instructor gets to read all these amazing, you know, informative articles. Wouldn't it be great if there was a venue for students to publish their work? And so this was one of my motivations. And then also just this idea of a pathway to publication. You know, having a publication on your CV or resume is a really, really big deal. It stands out, and you know, admissions committees and people, interviewers, they really take notice of this. And I have heard firsthand from students who have said that they were, during their interview, it was brought up. They asked about their publication with the Aggie Transcript, and that gave this opportunity for the students to really talk about their experiences there, both in writing or being on the editorial board. So the next slide, I think, shows the timeline. Yeah, so back in around 2013, 2014, the Aggie Transcript was just an inception. It was just an idea. We recruited this group, and they came up with basically the name and the mission statement, and made a rudimentary WordPress site, which they went live in 2014. One goal of the Aggie Transcript was to someday create a print edition, and that came to fruition in 2017 when the first copy was the first print journal was published. And this was just an amazing achievement for the students. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of the editors and all the writers, contributors to the journal. And today, I was going to run down and get my copy, the print copy. We just got them from the printer just a couple days ago, and they're beautiful. I'm so impressed what this issue looks like. It's over 100 pages of student writing. And I spent all weekend just sitting outside in my backyard, just reading all of the pages and the writing. And I was just so excited. And they put together this decade in review. And, you know, I can't be happier to have been working with these amazing students all these years. And, you know, I hope that you guys visiting us and checking us out, that, you know, you'll really consider writing papers for the Aggie Transcript and becoming an editor. And, you know, who knows, maybe it'll be published every quarter. So, you know, we'll just have to see where it goes. Oh, and one other thing. Yeah, in 2017, the Aggie Transcript editorial board won a graduation prize, or a yearly prize from the chancellor, for Advancing Academic and Career Goals Award. And there was an article published on this on the College of Biological Sciences website. So I think that was the end.
Sorry, I was unmuted. I'll pass the mic now to Aditi to talk a little bit about some of the submission types that we take. And Aditi, feel free to briefly introduce yourself as well.
All right. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you all. I'm Aditi. I'm the hard copy or print edition publication editor, in addition to being the managing editor this year. So primarily what that means is the effort to actually building the hard copy is something I'm in charge of. So real quick, we'll just go through the different types of categories that we accept submissions for. News being like current events, essentially. So I don't know if some of you have been following the news, but like Professor Dudner from Berkeley just won the Nobel Prize for CRISPR. That might be something that's talked about in a news article because it's related to like what's going on. We're anticipating a lot of COVID-related articles coming up, so that will also go in news. Features is something we like to really like highlight or bring attention to, something that really aligns with our core philosophy of promoting undergraduate research. So if you're working in a lab or you have some independent research that you've done, if you were to submit that with us, most probably would end up in a feature. Also, if you're doing interviews with professors or other scientists, if you've got a cool case study. Recently, we just had a case study done on cerebral palsy and also like the need for mobile medical clinics in Sacramento. So case studies can kind of be anything and everything, but that's where they would go. Science and Society is a brand new section that we just launched for the first time this past year, but that kind of discusses the places where science and society overlap. So one of our really cool articles from there was about the medical uses of marijuana and how it's a very like controversial topic in our society, but it does have a lot of biological applications. So things like that. And finally, reviews. I like to describe reviews as basically what you would expect your typical scientific article to look like. Pretty dense material where you're taking a lot of time to review a lot of different literature. So these articles have anywhere between like 25 to 50 references, and they're really just kind of doing a deep dive on any topic in particular. So there's no restriction as to what you want to write about. We accept anything related to the life sciences. So, molecular biology, environmental policy, agriculture, or animal science. The world is your oyster, just somehow related to biology. And we do also accept art and photography. These are kind of less popular, but they're some of our favorite submissions as board members. So I'll show you a few of the examples that we got. Daniel, if you'll flip slides. Yeah, so these are 2 pages from this past year's journal. If you want to see the rest, you're gonna have to go find a journal on your own. But on the left, this watercolor bird series was something submitted by Daphne Crum. She was a freshman, and she basically like did color pencil drawings of these 3 birds, and we thought they were absolutely stunning. So that was published. On the right, we have kind of like a modern art abstract drawing done by one of our own board members, Vita, and we put that in as well. So art can really be anything you want it to be, and we're more than happy to publish that as well.
All right, thanks, Aditi. So how to submit? We get this question a lot, and it makes sense because it's a good question to ask. So students can submit writings from their previous classes. In fact, we often do receive submissions that people have written in their UWP classes, specifically writing in science or writing in biology, and sometimes writing in the health professions. And then we also, as Aditi mentioned, we do accept undergraduate research with the approval of your PI. So any art submissions should be scanned using a printer or scanner. And the reason for this is that it's really hard for us to ensure quality of the submission in our both online, but especially in the print edition, if your art is included in that. And so we ask that it's scanned to ensure that quality. And there's more details on our website about how to submit, and you can also email us at aggietranscript@gmail.com. So a brief overview of the editorial process. So typically what happens first is we receive a paper via email, and we will review it as a board, read it through thoroughly, and sort of discuss amongst ourselves whether we would like to accept the submission. if we decide to accept it, the submission moves on to editorial review. And these are basically weekly chunks of time where 2 editors are assigned to a submission and given that time to make track changes and suggestions. Typically, the author will then have the next week to respond to those changes. And then the process sort of repeats itself until the editors feel that the paper is ready for publication online. And so I'm going to let Aditi hop back on to tell you about the print edition, which we put out each year.
Yes, so the print edition is essentially our pride and joy. A lot of time goes into making this every year, and we're very, very proud of it. The cover that's right up in front is the one we just finished, and like Dr. Burgess mentioned, it just arrived, so we're very happy about that. But essentially, what we do is we have a compilation of all the articles that we've submitted. Not all of them will be published in the hard copy, only the ones that we think are like, above and beyond. So we'll take them from online and put them into our hard copy. And it takes a good long while. It's a very intensive process. So you'll hear more about it later in this presentation, that we are looking for people to help put this together. So designers, graphic designers, photographers, artists, everyone in between. But yeah, this is what I do and what the team does.
Sorry, y'all, I on mute again, getting used to this. We're more than just a journal or a team. We also, are a group of friends. And we do have socials throughout the year. Obviously, the social that you see on the right here was from the before times in February or March. It feels like forever ago. But we've had a couple of socials this year so far online, and they've been really fun as well. And I wanted to give 2 of our current editors, Mari and Vita, a chance to say a few words about their experience with the journal. So I'll let Mari, who's a senior editor and a treasurer for us, take it away first.
Hi, I'm Mari. I'm a senior here at Davis. And I actually heard about the Aggie Transcript when I was a freshman through the freshman seminar that we put on for the Aggie Transcript, which really is a great opportunity to learn about how the club functions and everything. I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But for me, I feel like the Aggie Transcript has been a really cool opportunity in terms of for science writing, of course, and getting publishing opportunities and being surrounded by like-minded students who also are a variety of majors, but all kind of relating to life sciences and have that interest for writing life sciences. And I think something that's really unique about the Aggie Transcript is that it's like a very collaborative club, and you really get an opportunity to take on leadership skills without having set positions, or there's always opportunities that people need help with things, whether that's for the hard copy or for funding. And there's definitely always an opportunity for people to step up and take on more roles that they want. And it's really fun. And then we get to make this beautiful hard copy that I have here. And it's really rewarding to be able to look back and find your own articles and articles that you've edited, and then you can give it to your family and everything. So it's definitely a really fun club, and it's not stressful at all. We're all just very much friends, and it's a great opportunity to get involved in a club related to your major or academic wise, but still be very fun. And yeah, so that's my experience.
Vita, do you want to jump in? Vita, I don't think, can other people hear you? I can't.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, sorry, I'm just using my phone, so I was like double muted or something. Sorry about that. My name is Vita. I'm a second year. I found out about the Aggie Transcript in my first year in an info session, both very much like this one and very much unlike it, before these times that we are living in now. And the Aggie Transcript has been a very enriching experience as far as being at Davis for multiple reasons. On the more professional side, it really has been great to get more experience in the writing process and the editorial process, because understanding the process of how you get published, how to go about doing submissions, how to dress up a piece of writing to the point where it's ready for consumption is a skill that's not just applicable to the life sciences, but applicable to all sorts of other areas of life. Be that creative writing, informative writing, or even just professional communication. Furthermore, the Aggie Transcript has been really good for giving you new perspectives into other areas of biological sciences that you didn't see before. So you get all sorts of new information that's like these wonderful little treasure troves of knowledge that you weren't expecting. And you get to work with some of the most competent and like advanced thinking students on campus. So that's another huge benefit. Also, for all of this, it sounds like it's like very high pressure, very high stress, but I haven't seen that to be the case, because I've seen in general, and being on the editorial board, that the Aggie Transcript is really good at working with students to make it so that the transcript fits naturally into your life. And it can be pretty high commitment by going on the board and taking on leadership positions, or just submitting something here and there and being able to work your way up to that if that's something that you want. So it's a really versatile organization that's good at serving students' needs and also preparing them for a future.
Great. Thanks so much, Mari and Vita, for talking to all of us a little bit about why we enjoy working as a team on the editorial board, and producing that hard copy every year. It's something we really look forward to. All right, so a little bit about, so we talked a few minutes ago about how to submit to the journal. Now I'll talk a little bit about how to apply to be an editor. You can always submit articles to aggietranscript@gmail.com. And similarly, we accept editor applications on a rolling basis. So a few important points if you are considering applying to be an editor. The first one, probably one of the more important ones, is that for your first quarter on staff, we do want junior editors to be able to attend our board meetings. This quarter, those are happening at on Tuesdays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. If you are interested in applying and can't make those meetings, probably the best thing to do is just send an email to aggietranscript@gmail.com, and we can talk about the best time to apply so that as a junior editor, you're able to attend the first meeting. I'm realizing now that we didn't talk about junior editors versus senior editors, so I'll mention that briefly. Junior editors are essentially editors that are in their first few quarters of working for the journal, and they are paired on each submission with a senior editor. And so we do periodically host editing workshops for the editorial board, and if you're accepted, myself and you will have a few probably one-on-one sessions just to get oriented to how the board runs. But the goal of the junior and senior editor mentorship is to really learn from the senior editors on staff who have been editing articles for multiple years. So we've found over the last 7 years or so that that's a really great way to help people learn our brand of editing, and also learn from each other about good science editing, science writing too. So as a editor, your responsibilities are mainly to review submissions, edit them when assigned, and write at least one submission of your own each quarter. You're always welcome to write more than that, but the minimum is one, and that's so that in addition to working on your editing, you're also working on your writing, and we're publishing those articles online. Some of the other tasks that you'll help out with as an editor are planning events like this one, for example, and helping us publicize across different social media channels, on listservs, in your classes, via announcements, methods like that. And this is an area where we're really adapting to the new situation that we find ourselves in, with lots of virtual interaction with people. And finally, each year for the print edition, we have to apply for funding. Printing 400 copies of a 100-page journal is not cheap. And so we do write several applications each year to apply for funding that helps us print those journals. The final thing I'll mention is that there is 1 unit of credit per quarter that you can enroll in as an editor, and Dr. Burgess is the one who oversees that. It would be MCB 198, I believe, and it's just a 1 unit pass no pass type of deal. All right, Aditi, take it away with some information about the design help that we're looking for this year.
Yes, so obviously, as a designer, this is what I'm most excited about, but you should apply for anything that interests you. So we're looking for 2 main types of designers, quote unquote. The first kind would be someone who would help create the actual journal. Again, for both of these roles, experience is absolutely not required. We do not expect you to have anything. We are more than welcome. We are more than happy to train you, and you will be trained anyways, regardless of whatever experience you have. So don't let that be what stops you. But if you wanted to work on the actual print edition yourself, your main responsibility throughout the year would include assisting me with actually designing each article. So what that means is obviously learning the design process, but also like figuring out what kind of graphic needs to go with which one, like Daniel's showing right now. Both of these were graphics that were designed by our own team members, Neha and Reshma, who I'll turn it over to in just a second. But obviously a lot of work and time goes into doing this kind of stuff, so it can take a while. If you're working with me, you'll be using InDesign very frequently. If you're working with the graphics team, then you may not be using anything more complicated than PowerPoint, but I'll let Neha and Reshma explain that part.
Hi everyone, hopefully you can hear me and the audio is not laggy. But here we have some examples of graphics that were in our latest 2019 to 20 print edition. As Aditi mentioned, no formal design experience is required for this. All the figures you see here were made using PowerPoint, and you'll see some later that were hand-drawn or done on Google Slides. We just ask that applicants interested in this position have a passion for science and that you're willing to learn and work collaboratively.
So in addition to the computer-generated diagrams, which we mostly use for our hard copy, we've also been trying to do some hand-drawn diagrams, which is still relatively new, and we're still like exploring that. And this is mostly for social media. However, we will include some of them in our hard copy, and their purpose is essentially to help showcase articles that are difficult to showcase in other ways. So for instance, the lung drawing, it's difficult to get a photograph to display this article, but we still do want to share it. So these hand-drawn diagrams and even the computer-generated diagrams are really good to display these articles. So as I mentioned earlier, we are also using photography to showcase our articles, and given the nature of it, we mostly focus on photography related to things on campus. So for instance, this is a picture from a greenhouse on campus that happened to relate to one of the articles we were showcasing. And also we just mainly focus on environmental papers because those are the easiest to take pictures for. And once again, no experience necessary. If this is something you're interested in, please do apply.
So another component of the Aggie transcript is our social media. It really allows us to increase our exposure by reaching out to other student organizations and reaching out to the general student population here in Davis. It's also a great way to branch out as a board member. It shows that there are other opportunities beyond just writing and editing if you were to be on the board. So yeah, it's a great way to also showcase our art and photography submissions.
All right, so as I mentioned before, we accept applicants on a rolling basis. That being said, we are going to start, really getting into the swing of things in the next few weeks with submissions and editing and print edition prep, which, like Aditi was saying, is a lot of work. So we do try to start that earlier in the year. So if you come away from this info session and you're really interested in applying, I would encourage you to do so sooner rather than later. I think there's no reason to wait, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So as included in your application, we ask for a cover letter, which talks a little bit about your interest in the Aggie transcript, what interests you about science communication or science writing or science art, and what you hope that you can bring to the journal and gain from the experience as a member. In addition, we ask that you include a resume, some examples of relevant work, and your class schedule as well for the quarter that you're applying in. More details about submissions are also included on our website, or sorry, not submissions, excuse me. Applications are included on our website at aggietranscript.ucdavis.edu.
And real quick, just when it comes to relevant work, this is in particular for the design or graphics applications. If you don't have any experience or you don't have any relevant work, that's okay too. Just let us know in your email, and then Neha and Rachel can elaborate for graphics. But in terms of design, what we would really like to see is if you could just explain, what you think our journal does well visually, what you think we should improve on, what really stood out to you visually, just so we can see like where you stand in terms of your knowledge on how like basic publication design works.
Okay. So we're getting close to the end here, and we're going to open it up for questions and leave plenty of time for that, because I want to make sure that we have a chance to answer those. But a few more things to mention before we do that. So this winter quarter, we'll be offering a first-year seminar. It's usually titled Publishing in the Life Sciences. And it's taught by Dr. Sean Burgess, our faculty advisor, who you heard from towards the beginning of our info night. And it's also, the editorial board, members of the editorial board also help out with leading some of those sessions. So if you're not sure whether the Aggie Transcript is something you want to get involved in, but you want to sort of window shop, this seminar is a great way to do that. The main assignments are basically writing, editing, and then plugging an article into InDesign, so that you really come away from the seminar with a nice looking finished product. Something that you might see in our journal. It probably wouldn't look exactly the same because we have a certain style that we use. But the goal is that you come away from the seminar with a nice well-designed article to show off. And those are welcome submissions for the journal as well. And then as well, we also teach seminar students how to draft an effective resume and cover letter. And we gear this towards the materials that we would want to see if you were applying to be an editor at the Aggie Transcript, or some other like-minded publication. But the skills of resume writing and cover letter are applicable beyond our journal, obviously. So I think this seminar is a great way to pick up some of those skills along the way. Oh, and backtracking one sec. We are in the process of finalizing a day and a time for this. So if you want to stay in the loop about that, the best way to probably do that is to follow us on social media, and we'll be posting updates on that. And following us on social media is our next slide. So. So I don't know if Reshma was going to hop in, but these are our social media platforms, as well as our email and our website. So we try to post updates on all of these channels, so that you can be in the loop about the seminar and applications and recently published articles, etc. And that's our last slide. So would love to open it up for questions. You're welcome to raise your hand or unmute yourself. Or before we do that, let me actually ask Vish if there's any questions from the chat that we should answer right now.
Yeah, so I got a couple private messages. And there were a couple that I did want to kind of say because I thought they were important. Number one is, Daniel, where can the good people find the recording for this info night session?
That's a great question. I have the email of everyone who signed up for the info session. To be honest, I'm undecided about whether to send that out to everyone who registered or just send that out to people who asked. So maybe drop in the chat. Well, actually, I don't think there's a problem with sending it out to everyone who registered. So we'll just do that. So yes, you'll be getting an email with the recording of the info session. Probably tonight, but maybe give it a day or two.
Right. And that's what I figured. And before I see your question and before I get into the CRN for the winter seminar, I just want to ask a couple more questions, but I saw it and we'll get to that. So the next is something that we as a board have kind of flirted with, but we've never really needed to implement this, and that is a cap on our board number. I remember in the past we've talked about capping at 16, but the closest we've ever gotten was around 15 members. I think that was our max number of board members in the spring of last year. So it's never really been an issue, but if we do come close to that number, we can always, because we're on a rolling basis and our editors are graduating basically every quarter, we can always just say, we've accepted you, but we can't bring you onto the board for this quarter. We will notify you when a position opens up. That was just something that I wanted to share with everyone in case someone else was thinking about that.
Yeah, and I'll jump in real quick and say
sure,
that
go for it.
I wouldn't. If you're thinking about applying, I wouldn't worry about that. We've really never turned someone down because we don't have solely because we don't have enough space. The biggest reason for not accepting applications is because we want to see more dedication or interest in the journal. So we don't turn people down for lack of space usually. So I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, and another typically listed thing is that we want a better writing sample. So we'll usually ask you to resubmit your application with, a writing sample that's a bit more specific to kind of what we're looking for. That's another kind of common reason. But like Daniel said, as long as, you apply, just apply, basically, just apply.
Yeah.
And then, Dr. Burgess answered the question about the first year seminar. The rest of the questions are public, but I thought that it might be good to mention applying for multiple roles. So the majority of our board members are editors. Aditi is probably, well,
I kind of do
everything, basically.
Yeah, I edit papers. Well, okay, but this is actually a testament to the fact that like anything is possible. It's not overwhelming. I edit papers, I submit papers, and I also do the hard copy. So you can do whatever you would like to do. Every avenue is open to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would just emphasize that in your cover letter, definitely mention or talk about what part of the Aggie transcript interests you the most, when we read your application as a board, we'll be thinking about how you fit in based on your skills or your experience or your interest. So
Exactly. So basically, you can be like a Didi and just do everything, or we do have some specialists like Brooke, for example, that primarily works with our website. Um, so if you want to do things like primarily submit, like I know a while ago we were talking about the idea of a photographer who would just basically take almost stock image esque pictures for us to be used in the journal. Uh, and you know, we could always use more designers in general. So if you want to solely do design, we might consider that. So, you don't have to be an editor, but the majority of us are.
And following up on that point, if it ends up being that you're like a full-time designer, quote unquote, then most probably you won't have that same writing requirement that other editors have, because you'll be regularly producing some sort of like other thing for the journal, which would be journal itself. So, it'll depend case for case.
So, one kind of commonly asked question, and a question that I had myself when I applied, was what exactly should you submit as a writing sample? Really, it could be anything. My writing sample was not scientifically related at all, but we usually highly recommend that you do submit kind of a scientific writing piece. And this could be like a literature review where you take a topic and you kind of do like a deep dive, I suppose, into it, looking at research in whatever field you're writing about. I mean, if you really want to be kind of unique, I did before I joined the Aggie Transcript, I was submitting opinion columns to my local newspaper, and I submitted one of those. So yeah, but typically the majority of us kind of apply with scientific pieces where you talk about either something in scientific news or a literature review, something along those lines. And is it recommended to apply after participating in the winter seminar? You can. I mean, you can apply. We encourage everyone to apply after the winter seminar, but you don't have to go. You don't have to do the winter seminar to apply.
I think the question was more so asking, and I see that Didi answered it. If you're interested in applying now, you don't have to wait to take the seminar. The seminar is really there for people who are, either aren't sure about their interest in joining, or who aren't attending this info session and find out about us, 10 weeks down the road, and then at that point want to learn more. So
yeah, exactly. So with the last 10 minutes, I guess you can unmute yourself or continue writing in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer that. And I don't know, for people that are leaving, I see a couple people have already left. I don't know, should we say our goodbyes?
No, I mean, we still have 10 minutes left, so I mean, there's plenty of time to still ask your questions if you have them. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
I have a question about the type of writing and articles that you guys publish.
Yeah.
So I'm an economics major. I have taken and I am taking some classes in the sciences, but my background is mainly in economics. So would you guys consider taking articles about the financial and business side of sciences? and like of science and other things related to this, or is hard sciences and that kind of material more highly valued?
I feel like Vish is the perfect person for this question.
Yeah, so I mean, we do have a science and society section, which has mainly been where I've been posting my articles because I'm a political science major myself. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it is related to hard science. Like in my review on marijuana and its implications on society and politics, there was a lot of hard science in there about exactly how marijuana affects the brain, what's going on a neurological level. But I also had a separate section about the political ramifications of, marijuana reform a long time ago and where it's going now. So yeah, so we're flexible. We're flexible with what we do,
Yeah.
but we definitely do need some kind of a scientific root in it.
Exactly. Yeah, we are a life sciences journal, and so every article that we publish does have it focuses on some aspect of biology or environmental sciences. That being said, the Science and Society section was created to provide some space for, articles that talk about life science research or events or discoveries that have an impact on society. So for those articles, really the focus still is the life sciences and the research, but there is space, and yet again, this is the point of the Science and Society section, to sort of discuss some of the societal impacts of the technology or the research or the finding, whatever it may be. And I, Dr. Burgess, would you like to jump in on this point?
Yeah, sure. So, thinking about the long-term vision of the journal, I'm going to be around for a lot more time than these current editors will be. But one thing that I've always thought about is perhaps expanding the Aggie Transcript to go beyond the biological sciences in, as sister journals. So right now, this year, they were able to fill 100 pages of biological sciences papers. And, and I'd hate to see them kind of cut back on that to accommodate other topics. But at the same time, I think it would be really great if students in other majors were able to publish their work in a similar way. So it may not happen this year or next year, but, sometime down the line, and maybe some of you, would be interested in being part of this, is expanding the Aggie Transcript into other disciplines. So just to plant that seed in case some people might be thinking about that.
Yeah, and sort of the idea behind that is, if you think of like science or nature, they have like different categories of science that, different subcategories. So it would be a similar idea with, the Aggie Transcript, like the Aggie Transcript Life Sciences, which is what it is now exclusively. The Aggie Transcript Social Sciences, and so on and so forth. But that is like, if that's something that interests you, get in touch with us, and maybe we can talk about how to create that sister journal. But for now, yeah, like this version of the Aggie Transcript is currently focused on life sciences.
And I can just say one other kind of long-term vision I have is that maybe other colleges would like to start a similar type of journal, and you guys could, possibly reach out to other campuses, other UC campuses, to see if they might be interested in having some, version of the Aggie transcript, like the Triton transcript or something, for another UC. So, I think there's that kind of outreach opportunities as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right. We still have some time, so feel free to ask, unmute yourself with questions.
The Triton transcript, that's so good. I can't believe I really love that. It rolls off the tongue.
I just thought of it. My son just started as a freshman at UCSD, so I think about Tritons all the time now.
Yeah.
When I'm not thinking about the Aggies, of course.
Right, exactly.
Are there any questions in the chat that we missed? I'm scrolling, but I don't know what was going on while I wasn't looking. So, so I'll give like another 30 seconds to interrupt me. But if there's no more questions, we will say goodbye shortly, and I will stop recording. And if you want to stay on with specific questions for any editorial board members, I know that I can stay on, and I'm sure a few others can stay on for a few minutes. So yeah, we'll hang around for a little bit.
Before everyone leaves, I do just want to paste in our application link in the chat. So give me a sec.
Yeah, it's I think it's aggietranscript.ucdavis.edu/apply, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. And also, you can email aggietranscript@gmail.com with any questions. I check that email every day. I think I forgot to introduce myself, which is embarrassing. I am Daniel. I am this year's editor-in-chief of the journal. So hello, I'm sorry. I've just been a talking face this whole meeting. So
yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, man, I mean, do people know this guy's the boss? He's the leader.
I'm not the boss. Not the boss.
Well, you're the boss.
And I don't know if Mari mentioned either, but Mari's our treasurer. So, yeah.
I mentioned that.
Yeah, Daniel is introduced everyone but himself.
What can I say? That happens.
Show character.
He's just a humble guy.
Have a great night, Jordan. Thanks for attending.
Yeah, goodbye, everyone. But yeah, thanks for coming.
I'm going to stop recording, but yet again, you're welcome to stay on and hang out or ask any questions you have.
Yeah, ask a last-minute question, literally.